the very first time I drove down to see her in that month of January, I left on Friday after work.
Oh man, I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah,
it was a 3-hour plus drive, and I was a tad disheveled upon arrival. But it didn't stop us.
You're right,
we're 24 years later.
If you can make the 405, for those of you listening, maybe on the 405 right now, or in other parts of the country that don't understand what the 405 is, that is a decent first test of your love. That's a gauntlet to drive.
We proved it.
Yeah.
But then we would start, once we got serious, we would, whoever was going home would leave early Monday morning.
You have to. You can't. Yeah.
The drive back up the 405, not so bad Monday morning.
Yeah.
At 5:30, get in the house at 6:30.
Terrible.
Shower.
Yeah.
And you're off to work by 7 to teach class at 8.
So you went to Cal Lutheran?
I went to Cal Lutheran.
And then you have returned.
I have returned.
The triumphant return of the prodigal son as coach.
Triumphant, questionable, prodigal son, definitely not. But I'm definitely, this was always the hope.
Since when?
Since I was there. The hope was always to come back and coach the alma mater.
You knew that?
I knew that.
At what point? Freshman year, sophomore year?
I would say probably sophomore, junior year.
What happened during that time where you had an epiphany, as it were?
We had a really good team. We had a really good coach. And the bonding that was created on that team still lasts to this day.
You were still friends with your coach players?
We're still friends with all those guys, and they're my boys, as we say. And just that kinship has lasted. And as humans, you want to recreate the good stuff, right? And
well put. Yeah.
It was a good stuff. It was a lot of good stuff going on. So now I work hard to try to recreate that as best as I can.
Do you pitch? Is that part of your pitch to people coming in? Is like, this is what I experienced. I want to give that to you.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Every time.
Do young men and families understand that? Do they understand? Do they have a real three-dimensional?
I don't. I say this a lot. I don't know. I know they know it when they get here.
Why?
Because I work hard and I talk about it, and we do a lot of things to create it.
To create that space, to create that environment.
We do a lot of stuff for me, I do a lot of things to try and recreate the memories and the great feelings that I had when I was here. But I'm obviously doing that now for the young folk and our new players that are just going into this piece of life, the hard stuff, if you will.
Yep.
And, those memories will, and the lessons that they learn, like I did, if I can create the lessons and the memories for them that I got,
yeah,
I'm doing my job.
Would your wife say you're an empathetic person as well? That's a very empathetic thing to do.
I think she would, but I have other qualities as well.
As we all do. How do you coach? My thought is after the first week or two, we develop whatever tool set we have in our profession, maybe a month or two. You kind of are who you are, whether it's at home, whether it's, on the court or anything else. Do you practice the way you play? Do you parent the way you coach? Do you partner the way you coach?
That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
I coach very hard.
Okay. Meaning yelling or running hard?
The yelling is definitely diminished a ton. That's a whole nother podcast.
Okay.
How I've evolved as a coach.
Yeah.
I'm very, very, very competitive.
Okay.
Which I think every coach would deep down admit that competitive desire pushes them to be great, but it also gets in the way of treating and doing the right thing all the time.
Okay. You've had to learn that over the years?
I would say I'm still learning that. It's definitely a journey. It's definitely a process, but the yelling has gone down, but the high standards and the high demands of being our best and getting better every day has not diminished.
That's not for everybody. And what I mean by that is we're in a world where it seems like there's participation medals given in every.
You hit the nail on the head, and you mentioned not only do I talk about how I want to create these memories and these these bonds for our players, but I also tell them when we're recruiting them, I'm going to coach you hard, and you're going to be held to a standard that you may not be used to. And if that's not for you, then this isn't the school for you. And I want them to know that going in.
Do they know that, and do they really get it, or has there been some sticker shock or culture shock?
I think there will always be sticker shock for different reasons. Yeah. Going away from home for the first time, these types of things. But the ones that make it, we've got our team has 8 returning starter, not 8 returning starters, but our top 8 return. We have another 4 guys that were on the program that return.
You've got to be giddy about what's coming up this year.
We're definitely excited. But, the point is, though, the ones that make it through that initial punch in the face, if you will, then they get it, and it rolls. And then they start, as you build a program, older guys start pushing the younger guys and pulling the younger guys to the right place. And, we're almost there. This will be my 5th year as the head coach. First year was almost doesn't count. I got hired in August.
You got hired in August for a fall season.
For a fall season.
Starts in October?
Starts in October. And there's that's another podcast. So we're up to 2 more podcasts. Yeah. That was and I coached high school for 25 years. And then you go to college, which is much different for a lot of very similar in some areas and much different in others. You walk into it was tough. It was tough for the players we had. It was tough for me.
How do you make it through that? Because everything seems like it's triage mode.
Just like you do, make it through everything else. You just put one foot in front of the other and evaluate every night. And sometimes you don't sleep, and sometimes you do. And
is that your approach, to evaluate every day, every night?
I hope my players would say that all I do is talk about getting better. It's almost problematic, with this constant desire to get better. I've learned how to
appreciate
hold
the
that
moment
back, but because there's so much knowledge out there, even in this world of basketball, X's and O's, culture building, recruiting. There's so much knowledge out there, and I've learned to see something out of the corner of my eye that might help me get better, and look away.
Why look
because
away?
I already have a bunch of stuff on my plate.
Yeah.
You get too much stuff on your plate, then it's paralysis by analysis, and you get nothing done.
Yep.
So you figure out, no, I'm not going to look at that. You're just scrolling on your Twitter, your whatever your social media you're on. They got the algorithm that gives you all this basketball stuff
forever, in perpetuity.
And
the whole idea is to be able to infinite scroll, right? Just the
and that's that.
Yep.
And then eventually all right, I'm done. I'm not looking at this. I just scroll by, and if something I really, every once in a while you see something I really like, save that. I actually email it to myself. I got a file of good stuff for next year. We'll look at that in the next 2 months. But I emphasize growth mentality. I know that's a key word these days, but
growth or mentality is a key word.
A growth mentality. Someone has a growth mentality. Yeah. I talk about that. We talk about that. Are we getting better? That age-old expression: you're either getting better, you're getting worse. You're not staying the same.
Our minds are dealing with an order of magnitude or more stimuli that we've never experienced before. Ever in the history of humanity, in the history of the development of the Homo sapien, the last 10, 15, arguably 5 years in terms of the supersaturation or hypersaturation of information. How do you deal with that as a coach? It's a different thing, right? It's not accessing how to dribble a ball or accessing, it's having the filtering mechanism to know which is right, and to your point, how to turn off the faucet when you need to. Or
well, one of the things I do personally is I don't follow other coaches.
Is that a hard thing to do or an easy thing?
No, well, when you just don't do it, you don't think about it.
Did you, and then you had to stop, or you never started?
I started early, and then I realized right away, this coach, and everyone's self-promoting.
Yep.
And we do that on our Twitter feed or our Instagram, whatever it is, but everyone's self-promoting, and we're doing this, and we're doing this, and we're doing this, and we're doing this, and you get into this comparison mode. Oh, yeah. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Oh crap, we should be doing that. And you go down this snowball of oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, and then you forget to just do the basics. Take care of your guys. Make sure they're healthy. Make sure they're in a good space.
Yeah.
The fundamentals of everyone, the media attention, and then I'm old enough to recognize that and pull away and not do that. I'm old enough and mature enough most of the time to not infinitely scroll.
Yeah.
But who isn't? My 17-year-old.
Yeah.
The 21, 22-year-old.
How do you handle that? How do you coach that? How do you drive or lead them in that way?
Relentlessly is how I would say it. Just the same way I coach. I'm relentless in my approach to continuing to do things the right way. And sometimes it's subtle, and sometimes it's very direct.
Yeah.
But it's daily. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the D3 rules, but we can't coach in the summer.
Yep. You can only coach from October until whenever you're.
But we're allowed to communicate and talk to our players. It's not like there's a dead period, but obviously we got a group chat with the whole squad, and I'd say once a week I send a tweet that I see that kind of speaks to a growth mentality or a team mentality or something.
That's allowed?
That's allowed.
Okay.
I hope so. Maybe I'm breaking a rule. Self-report.
Yeah.
If that's against the rules, I might need to change professions.
Yeah.
It's a leadership deal. It's all that type of stuff. But anyway, and the same thing with my son. I'll see him on the phone, just scrolling, and I'll just say, "Hey, how long have you been on the phone?" And he'll go, "Too long." And put it away.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, he's back on it because there's nothing else going on or whatever it may be. But I just keep coming. I just keep coming with the tidbits and the reminders and the coaching and if necessary, the consequences, whatever it takes to deliver the message.
Do you have a singular focus when you coach, or are you able to?
I think it's getting. Are we going to be better? As a coach, you want your team playing their best basketball at the end of the year.
Are you able to orchestrate that?
I was going to follow up and say I've been a head coach I've always been a head coach. Sometimes I was like a freshman coach and a varsity assistant. I started coaching in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
It's now coming up on 2024. So, I'm in my 30th year of coaching. I've always had my own team. I would say 5 times we've played our best basketball at the end of the year. It's hard. It's really hard.
Why is it so hard? Because it's coming every year.
There's just so many factors that are, that you can't control as a coach. Injuries, mental stuff. Your best player gets hurt, or your best player goes in a bad place, or our own personal stuff gets in the way sometimes as much as we don't want it to.
You're allowed to have your own personal stuff?
Yes. I am human too. Whatever. I mean, sometimes you just run into it. You play your best basketball in the last game, but you play a team that does better.
Right.
And again, I guess that would go against what I said in terms of playing your best basketball. But a lot of times, playing your best basketball means you're winning.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but it's just there's a lot of factors involved in that, and a lot of them you can't control. So, and when I say us as coaches can't control, so it's not it's not a bad season if you're not playing your best at the end of the year, but that's the goal. Yeah. And that's what we did in our program last year. We played our best basketball in our last 2 weeks of the season.
That must have been pretty thrilling.
It was that's understates it, to be frank. I mean, you talked about earlier to come back to the alma mater and be the head coach of a team that goes back to the tournament for the first time in 22 years. It was awesome. And that's not even a good word. It was incredible.
Will be one.
And that's not a good word either. Well, there's
suboptimal words to explain.
There's way better words to express this, but it was also motivating.
In what sense?
We got to run it back, man. That was so fun.
Right.
That was so fun.
And you are running it back this year.
We got a shot. I mean, our league's going to be incredible.
Why is that? Like, for people who don't know where Cal Lutheran plays, what Cal Lutheran is, tell me about
Division III school in the suburbs of Los Angeles, Thousand Oaks, California. Yep. Some fun facts: the Dallas Cowboys trained there from 1960 to 1990. Mm-hmm. The LA Rams train there now. It's so and we have only been around for about 75 years. We're a pretty young school relative, but we're Division III school, great business program, great science program, about 2,400 students. We're in the SCIAC, Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference.
Yep.
9 Division III schools, all located in the greater Los Angeles area.
Chock full of talent.
Chock full of talent, all great schools. And our schools get players from everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not I would say less than half the rosters in this league are from Southern California.
Where do you recruit from?
Anywhere where players might be interested and they're good enough. Our roster this year will have kid from Minnesota, kid from Sweden, kid from Denmark, kid from Los Angeles, kid from Spokane, kid from Park City, wherever. We're a small private liberal arts college that is not easy on the wallet to say. So
it also has high standards
with high academic standards to boot. So it's a small. The filter for us, we're not looking at. So going back to your question, I didn't kind of rambled there a little bit, but if anyone that's interested in us will get a look.
Yeah.
If you're from upstate New York and you send us an email and you're interested in coming, we look at the film, and if we're interested, we reach back out and then we get the process going. We usually don't go to events like this and just fish, if you will. We don't just look around, because you got to have the GPA, you got to have the desire. Like in 4 years, I don't think I've ever talked anyone into coming to Cal Lu. Every kid we've got had interest in our school the very first day we talked.
That's amazing.
That'd be my guess.
So when you're talking to a player about what they need to be able to come beyond the grades, the X's and O's of the basketball acumen, what are you telling them? They need to be able to create shots off the dribble, or they need to be able to fit in your system?
Yeah, what are we looking for in a player?
Yeah.
First and foremost, you got to have a skill set.
What is a skill set?
The ability to dribble, pass, shoot, but more importantly than that, and defend. But what's underrated when you move from the high school level to this level is the ability to read the game, have a feel, make the right reads.
Is that intuitive, or can they develop it if they start studying at 8 years old?
I think it's both. The more you play, the more you get.
I see.
I played at Cal Lu. I always use air quotes. I played in 5 or 6 games in 3 years. I played my best basketball when I was 26, 27 years old in the streets of the San Fernando Valley in adult leagues. That's when I was.
Why do you say that?
Because I just got older and I had more experience and I matured mentally, physically. That's when I was the best player I was. So I didn't have a very good high school coach that taught me how to play the game. I got to college and started learning.
I see.
The learning process for me really in the game of basketball started when I was 18. So
why did you choose Cal Lutheran out of all the places?
Because they wanted me to play basketball.
I see.
I mean, it wasn't like it is now where there's college counselors and all kinds of ways to figure out where you want to go. I mean, my dad was in the Air Force. I was looking at ROTC scholarships. I was looking at military academies. Didn't have the grades to get in, so that was out. So it was ROTC. March of my senior year, I got a call from Cal Lu. Hey, you interested in playing basketball? Yeah. Went down and visited, applied, and I got so lucky.
Why do you say so lucky?
Because the experience I had.
Yeah.
And I didn't do any research. I didn't do the due diligence. Oh, is this the coach for me?
Yeah.
Does it have my major? I was like, oh, you want me to play basketball? Sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
And then I got to play golf too while I was there. I played 4 years of golf at Cal Lu as a little side hustle, for lack of a better term. And but what I got out of it, like I'm not sitting here today without going to Cal Lu. That's what I instill in my guys. My players know how important the school was to my development, how important the school is to me now, and that passion bleeds through in how we run the program.
Did your experience with your father being a military man, the rigor, the discipline around that, did that inform the way you coach?
I think yes, but more so was the discipline also came from Mike Dunlap, who was my coach at Cal Lu, who,
right.
if you do your research on him, he's won an NBA title as assistant coach. He's won a Division II national title. He won in Australia. He's a very well respected basketball coach in the country,
Yeah.
and he was very discipline oriented. And again, I didn't really have that in the basketball world until I got there. So the best teachers and the best coaches, I got to a point in my life where I realized the best teachers and the best coaches I ever had kicked my tail. And you come to this, you get that, and there's a fancy word I'm looking for right now. It's not coming to me, but you realize that was my best teacher. And most of us teach and coach the way we got taught and the way we got coached. And that was my best teacher and that was my best coach. And they were tough, firm, no nonsense. And I'd say that's kind of how I coach too. When I get in between the lines, it's, it's no nonsense. And let's get better. Don't waste our time.
So you're heading into arguably the most exciting year in some ways you've ever had as a coach.
At the college level.
At the college level.
For sure.
How do you prepare for that?
Well, I definitely don't coach them up because we can't do it until October.
Yeah.
Mentally get the guys ready, with whatever it is, mental message. I call our players every couple of weeks. I'm calling every single player personally, checking in on them, making sure they're right place, they're doing what they need to do, reminding them there's things they need to be doing to get better at. We give our players a workout plan for the summer. Everyone does that. And then personally, our team's going to be a little bit different next year.
Yeah.
So what are we going to run? What are we going to prepare? How do we see this season playing out? Just all the legwork, even simple things like the practice plan, travel modalities, accommodations. I mean, we're going to Virginia and Maryland next year. We got our plane. We've got our vans. Now we need to find some hotel rooms. Still working on that.
And you're having a hand in all these things.
I am a Division III coach. Most Division III coaches are. It sounds terrible. I don't want to disparage anyone, but we're basically glorified high school coaches because we don't have a staff of 12. Yeah. We don't have an ops guy. We don't have 4 assistants, 5 assistants. So it's player personnel director like the Division I guys do.
Have you figured out a way to shift gears? You have to do all those things, get everyone to the gym, and then shift into mode of coaching and drawing up plays. And
it's all the same. I mean, I guess I have because I've done it for 25, 30 years now.
Yeah.
I think it's just innate now. I don't even know what you're talking about. It's just regular.
What's been the worst moment coaching for you? The toughest?
Ever?
Yeah.
First things that comes to mind was I was coaching at Calabasas.
High school.
Yeah, Calabasas High School out here in LA, 2004-ish. And we were in the league championship game. Actually saw the coach I was coaching against. I saw him randomly last week.
Okay.
And I was in the championship game, and I'm pretty volatile now. And imagine 25 years.
You've mellowed?
I've mellowed a lot, and I'm still pretty volatile.
Yeah.
So I basically, and there was about 2,000 people in the gym. I got 2 Ts, got kicked out of the game.
Oh.
And
in the finals.
In the league championship. I remember I stormed out of the gym, threw my tie at the principal.
Of your school?
Of my school. And I walked outside. I sat down by a tree and I started crying.
Oh.
So just, like I told you, we just get caught up in the moment of competition.
So were you crying because it was just an endorphin release, or were you crying because you let yourself down, or just there's a lot of emotion?
I think all of it. I let my team down. I let myself down. I think when we get emotional and competitive, I think a lot of us act in ways and do things that we all regret later. And that was definitely one of those moments. And
could you hear the crowd inside after?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and you couldn't go back in the building.
No. And it didn't go well. I was talking about this with my very good friend who coaches high school as well. He wasn't on my staff. He was at the game because I took that. When we took that program over, we were moribund. 5 years later, we're playing in this championship game. It was a big deal for
Built a huge thing.
and then I just get booted, and deservedly, I would say maybe I didn't deserve the last tee that I got, but I deserved it based on my behavior leading up to that.
Not just in the game, but in the league.
Prior games, all that other stuff.
see.
I mean,
So
I've
you had a reputation.
I developed a nice little. Let me rephrase that. I developed a poor little reputation
Got it.
of dealing with officials.
So they were looking for you coming in.
Probably,
Okay.
and in retrospect, deservedly so. I mean, at the time, I didn't think I deserved it, but again, as you get older, you realize where your mistakes lay and were. So deserved it. Got kicked out. Walked outside, and it was a close game when I got kicked out. We ended up getting blown out, and actually, because in high school in California, if you get kicked out of the game, you can't go to the next game. So I had to sit out the first game of the playoffs.
Oh wow.
And that was like the second time we'd made the playoffs in who knows how many years.
Did you win that game or lose that game?
They won the game. I didn't coach.
Got it.
And then when I came back and coached the game, we lost that game.
That's a tough stretch.
But the next year we went all the way to the finals. I mean,
Okay.
it was minor setback for a big response.
So my next question was answered, which you threw your tie at your principal, but you did not get in trouble for that.
No, he was a cool principal.
He collected a new tie as well.
He's about as emotional as I was.
Okay. Oh wow.
I mean, he wasn't necessarily at that moment, but he can be as emotional as I can.
Why did you throw it at him? Just because he was a friend, or because you were mad at him, or?
There's a little baggage there, which probably isn't worth into going now. But basically, they had started talking to me about my behavior in games.
So here's my behavior.
Yeah,
take my tie.
It's half my tie. Again, you asked for my worst moment.
Yeah. What's the best one?
Last year was pretty good. We made it to the NCAA tournament on we were the 4 seed going into our league tournament.
Yeah.
And played the number 1 seed on the road, upset them, and go to Redlands, play them, and the championship winner goes into the NCAA tournament. 6 weeks earlier, they beat us by 30 on the same floor.
Okay.
And we win on a tip-in at the buzzer.
Oh, that's thrilling.
It was incredible. That's definitely up there. I mean, I've had the pleasure of coaching some really good players that have moved on to some great things at higher levels.
Check you out, London and Drew. And I'm sorry, tell us about some of the
London, Perrantes, started at Virginia for 4 years, playing in Israel last year. I know he's looking for something new this year. Even at Calabasas, you mentioned Drew Housman, went to Harvard, played in Israel. De'Anthony Melton played for me at Crespi. He's on the 76ers now. Brandon Williams played for me at Crespi. He's now playing for the Timberwolves in the Summer League, hoping to get out there this week and see him play. Max Heidegger played for me at Crespi. He's playing in Spain. I've coached some really good players, and seeing them, watching them play in the NBA for the first time, watching them sign a contract. I mean, probably my most proud moment, De'Anthony Melton, when he signed his deal 3 years ago with the Memphis Grizzlies. He signed a
generational wealth deal.
Not generational, but for him it was.
Yeah.
I mean, he signed a 4-year, $32 million deal. And this is a kid who grew up with less than nothing. And watching it, and he asked me to come out for the signing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Did he pay for dinner?
Pay for the whole trip.
Wow.
Or the Grizzlies did. I don't know which one. But
either way, you didn't pay.
That was incredible. Just the fact that he asked me, and then it was actually during the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, right smack in the middle of the pandemic. So I go out to Memphis, and I'm like, Beale Street.
Yeah.
Never been. Let's go. And we get there, and I get in there late, and me and De'Anthony and another kid that went to Crespi were there, and we walk Beale Street, and it's dead as a doornail.
Yeah.
Everything's shut down. We can't even find something to eat. I mean, it's middle of Memphis, and that was what we got. So I think he called in some DoorDash from someplace, and we had chicken tenders in the hotel lobby.
Not
But-
the best, but given the situation.
But a great memory
champagne
nonetheless.
pub. Yeah.
Nonetheless.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you very much for joining us.
I appreciate it.
You are heading
It was fun.
into, thank you. It was fun.
Yeah.
Very much so. You're heading into the most promising year ever as a coach for you.
As a college coach.
As a college coach. I'm sorry.
we did pretty good at Crespi. Had
Yeah.
some nice years.
Well, I was going to get into that, but
Yeah.
maybe for another podcast.
Sure,
We're
sure.
3 deep on these new
Yeah.
podcasts. These
Let
other
me give you my
podcasts.
card on the way out of here. And your people talk to my people.
Yeah, we'll set it
We'll
up.
set something up.
That sounds good. That's my people. One of them, at least.
Okay.
Coach Russell White, thank you so much. Good luck at Cal Lutheran this year.
Much appreciated.
And I want to see how I can
Good
get some of
stuff.
that gear too. That looks good. So anyway, thanks so much.
I'm going to give you my card. I'll send you some.
Sounds good.